Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. If this is your first time here, make sure you subscribe to the channel, like this video, share it with your friends, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss when a single video comes out. Today, we will be discussing the pillars, the goals, if you will, for this channel. Why did I start it, and what am I looking to achieve? Let's get into it. So that brings us to our very first pillar, our very first goal, which is to encourage people to read. Now, the pillar of this is that I don't care what you're reading. I just care that you're reading. I don't care if you want to read newspaper articles, if you want to read magazines, if you want to read young adult fiction, kids fiction, adult fiction, romance, mystery, comics, manga, whatever. I don't care. I just want people to read. And I think, at least in terms of things that I've seen on BookTube, it kind of seems like this is where a little bit of the divide is. I have seen some channels say basically that. They're like, hey, just read. But then there are other channels that seem to be more about, classic literature, hard books, books that are not really for everybody. And I think what a lot of things like that, and I think it's fine if you want to read those books. Absolutely do those books. But I think given that this is going to be a channel trying to get people into reading, I think books like that are an absolute horrible place to start. And I think it's good that people want to tackle those works, and I think people should attempt to tackle more of them in their lifetime. But if you're just starting out, those books are daunting. They oftentimes are very complex and have a lot of different things going on in them. And they are, they're important literary classics. But I also think they add to one of the big things that I think reading has a problem with, right? The hobby of reading. I think a lot of people on the outside tend to view that activity as elitist, and I think a lot of that comes from people telling you that oh, this book sucks, or oh, don't read that, you should only be reading these 5 dead authors that everyone claims to be classics. Stop wasting your time with the stupid story that you're reading. You should be reading these are real books. And I think that's a real problem that exists, and I don't think you should ever be discouraging someone from reading anything. If you want to read Dostoevsky, by all means. If you want to read Twilight, by all means. There is no story that is off limits for anybody, regardless of age. And now, I think that is true of the flip side. You want to read comics, you want to read manga, do it. Read it. We're going to talk about some of that stuff on this channel, and I think a big reason is that adults view that stuff as for kids. They view it as, oh, Spider-Man, Superman, all that's kid stuff. I don't need to read that. I don't want to read that. And no, we're not going to talk about superhero comics all that much. But there's a wide world of independent publishers, creator-owned stuff that is very good, and that is about something, and is not just about men in tights flying around saving the city. And so we're attempting to at least get rid of that stigma and bring some of these good comics, some good manga into the light, and try to get people that are already readers who might be watching this channel, trying to get them to expand what they read, break out of just reading horror fiction, break out of just reading fantasy, and then break out of just reading manga or comics by picking up a fantasy book, by picking up a horror book, or a mystery, or a thriller. We just want you to be reading. I don't care what it is, as long as you're doing it for 30 minutes a day. The second pillar, the second goal of this channel, if you will, is I would like for people to start prioritizing quality of reading over quantity of reading. And I'm going to get into that a little bit deeper next week when I release some of my plans for 2023 and what I want to be reading this year. But basically the gist of it is, if you go on YouTube, if you watch BookTube, anything like that, all these people at the end of the year that just passed, we see these videos, right? I read 110 books this year. I read 85 books this year. I read 15 books last month. I think that's discouraging for people who are just starting out, who like maybe only get through one book in a month because, you know, they haven't read in a while. Their reading pace is a little bit slower. That's fine. I think what videos like that tend to miss, and why I will never make a video about how I read 20 books in a month, because I will probably never read 20 books in a month, because I feel what people lose when they do things like that, retention. You're not getting everything you can from that book by just piling through them just so that you can say you read X amount of books. Now, don't get me wrong. Like, if you're retaining everything and you just happen to be a fast reader because you've been doing it for a while, then there's absolutely nothing wrong with that, right? I'm not a particularly fast reader. I try to just do like a book a week, right? One 400-page book a week. And I think like seeing big numbers like that from people that you love to watch on YouTube is discouraging, because you will think to yourself that you will never get to that point. So why even try? Like, why even bother? Right? And I would like to discourage that by saying it's not about how much you read. It is about like the quality of your reading. And how much are you getting out of that? Are you only reading one book a month, but like that book drastically changed your life or impacted you, or you really connected with something in that book? Then that's fine. That's totally worth it then. Read the one book a month if it's really going to make a difference in your day-to-day life. Don't plow through 8 books a month just so that you can say you read a lot of books in a year. Like, I don't find that very impressive. I would rather talk to someone who can like go in depth with me about books that they have read, rather than someone who can just tell me a list of all the books that they have read. Lastly, this is a channel about encouraging people to read. And so part of that is trying to make reading feel more approachable, right? We want people to feel welcome. They want people to feel like they can read anything. All opinions are welcome. You don't have to like everything that I like. And this is just a place for discussion about books, about great books. And I will never make videos trashing an author, trashing a book, because they take a lot of work, right? It's not fair for you to read a book in like 7 days and be like, this is the worst thing I've ever read. I really only want to talk about things that I like. And I love fantasy, I love horror, I love long series, I love multitudes of authors. And so part of making reading approachable is that I will be doing like reading log videos for an author, like a series. We'll sit down, we'll go through all their books, right? We'll read them at a nice pace for people to follow along. We'll just go through. And we will also do that for big, long series that seem overwhelming. The point of this is to try to make reading feel less overwhelming and more like fun. And so, classic books that we'll read, we'll break it into very manageable chunks and we'll talk about it. Big, long fantasy series, we'll break it up into tiny little chunks and we'll talk about it. All to make this feel more approachable, more like something that you can accomplish. Because if you feel like you are reading a book and you are accomplishing something, like you're making progress towards the end, you're more likely to get it done. You're more likely to feel motivated to keep doing it than if you were to look at, oh, well, that's a 15-book series. I'll never get through all that, so I just won't even start. No, we're going to break down hard books, we're going to break down long books, we're going to break down authors, we're going to break down series into small, manageable chunks so that reading is more approachable for everybody, regardless of reading speed and how well you read or how much you read. Like, it just needs to be more approachable for everybody. And at the same time, that comes with the caveat of, if you like a book, tell somebody about it. A lot of the videos on this channel are going to be why read X, right? And it's going to be me taking 10 minutes trying to convince you to read a book, to read the book that I just read and loved. And so that's what we're trying to do here. Talk about books that we love and encourage other people to read books that we love in hopes that they love them, or when they tell you about a book that they love, extend the offer. Read it. Talk to them about it. Discuss books with people. Let's get more people reading. That's what we're here to do. That's all I have for you today, so thank you for watching. Thank you for taking the time to be here. Make sure you like this video, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you don't miss a single video. And until next time, thank you for watching. Go read some great books.